Hi everyone, X here, and as some of y'all might have heard, Dynamis 1, the studio behind the highly controversial and now cancelled Project KV, aka the Blue Archive clone with swords, has returned with a new game called Astrae Oratio, announcing a countdown on May 1st, and on May 7th, a super teaser PV was revealed. Plus, more information about the characters was shown throughout the next few days after the teaser was unveiled. So in this video, I'm going to be doing a short analysis of the game based on all the information that has been released, as well as my own thoughts on the game itself. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, for those of you who don't know about the entire Project KV and Dynamis 1 controversy, I personally suggest doing some research about the whole situation. It'll help you understand why a good amount of Blue Archive fans, from global players to JP, and especially the Korean senseis, are skeptical or even outwardly rejecting Astrae Oratio. For those of you interested, I made two videos about Project KV before, one talking about why it was cancelled and the overall situation, while the other was a follow-up of the incident a few months later. Or you could also check out other highly informational videos on Project KV by other CCs. I'll leave the links to my videos as well as those from some other creators in the description. But for this video's sake and for your understanding, here's a TLDR on it. Back in 2024, Dynamis 1, a game studio comprising of former Blue Archive devs, were making a game titled Project KV. It essentially looked like a BA clone or spin-off to many people, even being dubbed Raid Archive, thanks to the similar art style, the use of halos, and the overall plot, albeit the characters use swords instead of guns. However, while the prospect of a BA-esque game should have been exciting, it all changed when the truth behind the development of the game was revealed. These former devs had intentionally attempted to sabotage Blue Archive's development before their departure from Nexon, like stealing a whole bunch of assets, concepts, and ideas, to half-assing their work on Blue Archive, such as the story and some character designs, to causing disharmony among the team. As a result, a lot of senseis, especially those from the Korean and Japanese communities, were outraged. For global, the reactions were mostly mixed, and there was so much backlash towards Project KV that a few days after its reveal, Dynamis 1 announced its cancellation, scrubbing all its teasers and PV while disappearing from the internet. Fast forward to around early/mid 2025, basically turns out the South Korean Metropolitan Police team got involved too, raiding D1 studio after Nexon launched a criminal investigation against them, with the police finding evidence of them illegally exporting important development materials while working at Nexon, and wanting to use them for their future games in their new studio, as well as partaking in corporate sabotage by trying to poach employees, purposefully neglecting the game's development, providing false information, and etc. Essentially, they did a lot of bad stuff and it came back to bite them in the ass. Again, this is a brief recap of what happened. If you wanna know more, go watch any video on Project KV or read the Google Doc that Stella Solaris made. They are a Korean sensei who compiled and translated everything regarding KV and its controversy back then. I'd highly recommend reading it. Now, moving on from the TLDR, there was actually another small yet significant update regarding Dynamis 1 earlier this year. NCSoft, another South Korean video game developer who are primarily known for their MMOs like Ion, Throne and Liberty, Lineage, etc. Some of y'all who play MMOs might be familiar with them, I'm not. Secured the global publishing rights for two IPs, one of which is Dynamis 1's new project. As per NCSoft's official newsletter at the start of the year, they have invested in Dynamis 1 and secured the publishing rights for their new upcoming subculture game, Project AT, which we now know as Astrae Oratio. It reads, Dynamis 1, a studio specializing in subculture genres, is currently developing Project AT as an original IP. Designed around the core themes of magic and governance, Project AT draws inspiration from the neo-legendary storytelling style popular in Japanese subculture. This project represents a new chapter for Dynamis 1 following the conclusion of its previous work. Yeah, quote-unquote conclusion. NCSoft will handle publishing for Project AT both domestic and abroad, meaning Korea and global, reinforcing its subculture-focused development cluster and further diversifying its game portfolio. So as you can see, Dynamis 1 ain't dead, and their return had actually been teased at the start of the year, which brings us to today, the reveal of Astrae Oratio. Now, let's have a look at all the information we have about Astrae Oratio, like the 49-second super teaser PV itself and the character introductions on their website/social media, as there is a bunch of stuff that I, and I'm sure many others, have noticed, and I like to briefly go over them. Plus, I'll try to be as objective as I can in this segment. Firstly, as you can probably tell, the whole teaser is very similar to Project KV's initial super teaser, with all the PowerPoint flashy Monogatari-esque text, albeit KV's was voiced and this isn't.
あなたはそこで自分の刀を見つけるはず。
Except for the title reveal.
Astrae Oratio
Plus, AOS has a lot more text and information to take in, vaguely introducing the game's MC, plot, setting, and factions. More importantly, Astrae Oratio seems to revolve around 4 main themes, with the first being Shindenki, which is a niche Japanese genre that's also called neo-biographical fantasy, and Shindenki storytelling combines low fantasy with urban mystery while incorporating supernatural mystical elements. Think Type Moon works or the Nasuverse like Tsukihime or Fate Stay Night or Kara no Kyokai. The second theme is administration, which is going to be the thing the MC is mainly part of. Basically sort of like their Charlet or something. Third and fourth themes are magic and duel respectively, so this time it's Blue Archive with magic. I feel these two themes explain the most about AO's core mechanics. The characters in the game are probably going to have their own specialized magic, and maybe players will be going up against enemies in 1v1 magic duels. You can see the characters are even holding wands, so it might be something like Marshall or like Harry Potter. Moving on, the trailer also unveiled the game setting, Tokyo 1889 AD. I initially thought it was 1989 at first, but it being 1889 is an interesting choice, because looking at the poster, the city definitely doesn't look like it's the 1800s. Plus, a good amount of people have already pointed out the discrepancy of Tokyo Tower existing in this game, when it was only finished building in 1958. So it'll be interesting to see how they explain this and why Tokyo looks so modern in 1889. While the trailer also did mention that Tokyo is the most powerful magical dominion in the world, and their shortcoming acknowledged this discrepancy too. So I'm guessing they use magic to modernize Tokyo, or this is some kind of parallel world/timeline. Other than that, the trailer began with the text, "How about you, Shunin?" who is confirmed as the player. It's a title like Sensei or Shikikan or Doctor, etc. As Shunin in Japanese apparently means chief, boss or supervisor who oversees regular employees, especially in small companies. And in a large one, there is a Shunin for each department. Plus, they established that Shunin will be working in something called the Special District Office, a local ward office for magicians, so I'm guessing we're gonna be in charge of a few characters who would be the main cast. And the characters we meet/pull, assuming it's a gacha, will join the company. The website also describes him as a normal civilian who doesn't have any magic. I mean, he looks like a regular Japanese salaryman, with his face being hidden for self-insert purposes. And I assume they are confirming that it's a male MC only. Aside from that, the trailer also alludes to a bunch of dream stuff, like saying this is a new dream and the person asking if we are still dreaming, an eternal dream from which we cannot awaken, etc. From the comics, it looks like Shunin doesn't know anything about the world, so I'm guessing he got isekai through a dream or something, and that's how he'll be introduced, and it'll probably be an important plot device throughout the story. There were also around 12 keywords explained throughout the trailer, each with their own descriptions related to the world and plot. You can go read those and decipher them yourselves. And while there weren't any characters shown in the PV itself, they briefly introduced some of the factions or clans that you'll get to encounter, like the magical activities of the Minato Girls, Seiran Fellowship, Akina Urban Legend Research Institute, Cafe Ichigo, reminds me of Zucchero Cafe from GFL, Hermetic Order of the Ash Dawn Tokyo Chapter, and Mima Warigumi. Again, you can read through all the descriptions on your own, though I do want to point out these lines, "You don't care about the age gap, Shunin," and "Shunin, he might be my type in about 10 years." I think it means that there's a good chance the game will have a lot of hacks/mature women while our MC is a younger guy. I mean, look at him, he does look young. Speaking of, they revealed one of the girls a few days after the trailer, aka Hiwagishi Akari Ai, voiced by Shiraishi Haruka, and she is the head of the Special District Office and the one who reassigned the Shunin to serve at said office. She also keeps various toys in the office, and as the Shunin's direct superior, she is hardly what anyone would call a model public official. Plus, virtually everything about her is shrouded in mystery. Basically, she's this game's Rin, I guess. I mean, their look and their jobs are pretty similar. Lastly, the end of the PV confirms that the game will be launching in 2026, which was actually quite surprising. But for those of you who are looking forward to the game, well, you needn't have to wait too long. For this final section, I'd like to end this video by giving my quick thoughts on Astrae Oratio based off the info we already have. Well, firstly, I'd be lying if I said the urban setting it's taking place in doesn't mildly intrigue me, cause I love modern urban city settings in games, which is why I love Blue Archive's Kivotos, and I enjoy other gachas that take place in this type of setting too, like Zenless and NTE. And another thing I will say, their PV music slaps. Even Project KV's back then. Maybe it was produced by Mitsukiyo again, who by the way has no ties to D1 cause he's a freelancer. Plus I also actually like the art. It's very aesthetically pleasing for my eyes. I don't know how to explain it, so I will give them credit for all those. However, outside of those, truthfully speaking, I do not have much interest / hope for this game. Only like 10% interest maybe, simply out of pure curiosity, for a bunch of reasons. First of all, so far at the time of writing, I'm personally not really interested in any of the two characters revealed. Sure, I looks kinda hot, but A, I don't like glasses girls. I know, boo me all you want. And B, I find her a bit bland, plus she just looks like a mix of Rin and An94's Anji's skin, albeit happier and more relaxed. Nothing bad about that, but personally it's not for me, even though I like Rin and I love An94. One good thing going for her though is she's voiced by Shirashi Haruka, the VA of Fumino from Bokuben and Kirei from Umaru-chan. There's also Shunin who, I'ma be honest, looks a bit like a Shota, and in my opinion, every version of Sensei looks better and absolutely mocks this auraless bum, but I'm guessing they'll try to make him out to be some kind of giga chat like Sensei through the game's story. It's also weird why they would wait almost a week after showing the PV to reveal any new characters. I know they did it with Project KV as well, where they released a super teaser PV first without any characters, then they revealed that PV with Ashihara Tsumori Koito-chan, etc. But this time they had a week-long countdown, plus it's been more than a week now and they've only shown 2 characters. So I think that's quite baffling. Plus a good number of people also shared the same sentiment of not being excited about AO due to the lack of character reveals in the teaser before they announced Ai and Shunin's designs. Oh, by the way, them locking the comments under their super teaser PV is definitely not a good look either. Not only that, while I haven't played any NCSoft games before, I've seen a lot of people go, oh no, the moment their name pops up. Apparently they have a very bad reputation among MMO players because they shut down so many of their games while lying to their players and enforcing a lot of pay-to-win stuff, so it raises a lot of concerns, especially for those anticipating AO, as NCSoft can easily mess it up. Do I hope they do? Well, to quote my former gaffer, if I speak, I'm in big trouble. Moving on, I'd also like to point out that it's coming out in 2026, yet there's been no beta test or whatever, and it's already nearly halfway through the year. Not to mention, like I said, we have literally zero idea about what the game is. At least with Stellar Sora last year, the global beta test took place in May, the CN1 in like August, then the game released in October. So either they had an alpha test which we didn't know about because there was an NDA, or it is soon and the game releases in like December, or they are so confident about their game that they don't need any tests and they just release as is, which in my opinion would be bold and kinda stupid. Anyways, outside of the game's urban setting and music, I'm not really interested in and don't have much hope for Astrae Oratio, mainly due to the people behind the game, i.e. both D1 devs and NCSoft. And I'm personally looking more forward to Project RX, because at least the characters we've seen are cute, the quote-unquote gameplay footage looks cool, and it's by the actual talented Blue Archive devs, whom I have a lot of trust in because they didn't have to steal assets to make a game. In fact, Nexon officially announced that Project RX would be released on consoles during their Q1 2026 earnings announcement, which excites me even more because it's definitely going to be big. Though the game could become mainstream, which is another problem in itself, but that's a whole can of worms for a different day. Look, if you're stoked for Astrae Oratio, if you're thinking, hey, 2 kicks, I have no issue with that. By all means, be eager and hopeful. If you aren't looking forward to this game at all, maybe you hate the game, or you would never want to touch it, or you want it to fail because you hate the D1 devs, no judgment from me either. I'm not judging any side for whatever you guys do. I'm not gonna try and change your minds. Y'all can do what y'all want. I really don't give a shit. I'm at a point in life where I'm too tired to care about what others think or do. That being said, again, me personally, I'm leaning more towards being unenthusiastic and not hopeful of the game, especially since I hate Dynamis 1 for what they did to Blue Archive, my favorite gacha game of all time. Like, look at how they massacred the designs for My Swimsuit Sairi and Ben Kazus, and many more consequences that affected the game due to their actions. I do not like them at all, cause these devs have disrespected us, the players, all for their selfish whims. In fact, the snake I found in my toilet on the morning the day the AO trailer was supposed to release is less of a snake compared to these devs. The only reason why I'll still most likely try the game in full transparency is for content reasons and out of pure curiosity. Though not making guides or whatever, probably just a review. Cause if it's terrible, y'all know I'm gonna dog on it. But if it's good and they prove me wrong, I'll be fair and I'll give them their flowers. Plus, I obviously won't spread any misinformation about the game or anything. I'm not trashed. But I hope I've made my stance clear on how I feel about Astrae Oratio, and y'all can make up your own mind about how y'all feel about the game. Anyways, that's all for this video. Let me know your thoughts about Astrae Oratio. Keep it civil in the comments or I'll have to correct you, and I'll see y'all in the next one.